No Fun, the Jen Kirkman podcast, episode 28. And this week, this episode, as every episode is, fully available in full and ad-free only on Patreon. But this week, usually the last Thursday of the month is only available to people at the highest paid level. Who pay for the 4 times a month fun. But this week, because it's a special listener Q&A episode, I'm being so generous, and any level that you're subscribed to on the Patreon, you can receive this episode, including even if you are only subscribed to the And Just Like That recaps. I know I'm an amazing person. I just have so many questions here from listeners, and I want to make sure that everybody gets to hear them. And I just want to get as many people on board with the Patreon as possible. So anyway, let's begin with the questions. They range anywhere from personal questions about my life to people who need advice to people who want to know about certain roles I've had as a writer on things or appearing in things, all kinds of random stuff. So stay tuned. You'll see it in the show notes, of course, the topics that I cover in this episode. And again, every week I am recapping And Just Like That, season 2. So you can find that only on the Patreon. So if you are hearing the first 10 minutes or so of this on the, free feed as you're listening on your favorite podcast app, you can also subscribe and get the And Just Like That recaps. They're $1.99 for the month. And you can subscribe for a 7-day free trial before that. Okay, here we go. In no particular order of questions, I've got like dozens and dozens here. This might even have to extend into a 2-part episode. But Germ asks, one of my coworkers has a Proud Boy haircut. Is it possible that he's a good dude, or is this an automatic pass? I have a friend with a Karen haircut, and she's totally nice, at least around me, most of the time. I don't know what a Proud Boy haircut is. I mean, I don't know what a Karen haircut is either. So I just never identified these types of people by their haircuts. To me, a Karen is a behavior. And a Proud Boy haircut, is that shaved on the sides with kind of long bangs that are combed over with lots of gel? I really don't know what it is. I didn't even realize that all the Proud Boys had the same haircut. I would probably assume if I, the most in touch person with what's going on in the world. I'm kidding. But no, I mean, if I've never known that that was a thing, maybe other people don't as well. And I guess you could find out if he had this haircut before the Proud Boys. Are the Proud Boys, I mean, if there is a uniform haircut in the Proud Boys, are they basing it on other neo-Nazi groups? Like, is it the same kind of haircut that Nazis had in Hitler's army? Is it the same kind of haircuts that neo-Nazi skinheads had in the 80s? I mean, I don't know. I guess I would say you probably can't judge either of these people on their haircuts. And as always, if these people are white, you can assume that if they're nice to you, that may not mean anything, but there's always a point if someone is a true Karen or a true Proud Boy type that they will confide in you because you are a fellow white person, if you are indeed white as well, and they will, kind of act like you get it. I mean, come on, between you and me, we can talk. No, it's just us. That's how you would probably know. I can also see that they would know that you're not up for that kind of conversation if you've made that clear, and they will be nice to your face and continue to live their shameful, hateful life privately with their people. But again, can't help you there. Don't really know what these haircuts are. But if there is a definite thing, I'd say more the Proud Boys thing sounds like that could be a uniform thing. And a Karen haircut, I mean, I know all kinds of Karens and they have all kinds of haircuts. I don't know them personally, but, it might be like, oh, my friend's sister who went a little QAnon, or, oh, this yoga teacher I used to know. I mean, they all have different haircuts. So, and I know that a yoga teacher and a QAnon person isn't necessarily a Karen, but I kind of just put all of that in a blender. Someone who calls the cops on a black guy looking at birds in Central Park is probably also the type to fall for QAnon rhetoric that they find in their mom's group on Facebook that they don't realize has been filtered down from QAnon, and they think that there is some kind of, conspiracy with the COVID vaccine or conspiracy with people drinking some weird thing in Hollywood to look younger that was somehow harvested from babies. I mean, I have no idea. But I just put all those kind of people in a blender, and I don't think you can judge them on their haircuts, which I think is actually more frightening because you never know who you're talking to. You never know who your neighbor is. They could be normal by day, and at night they are going down dangerous rabbit holes on their computer and believing things like Wayfair is sex trafficking children in shipping containers and disguising selling furniture on their website as what they do when they're really in the business of trafficking. Like that was a QAnon thing that kind of made it into the mainstream. So yeah, I think you are smart to question if the people that you know might secretly be racists or Karens or whatever. But I think you can't base it on their haircut. So either way, you can't assume they are because of their haircut. You can't assume they aren't because of their haircuts. All right. Jen, would you ever write for And Just Like That if you had the opportunity? No. The answer is no. So there's two answers to this question. First of all, when And Just Like That first came out last year, if I were not employed as a writer and looking for a writing job, I never, ever, 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 ever would have done snarky recaps about the show on my social media or on my podcast, because that's not going to endear you to the people that run that show, that would be in charge of hiring me, working with me, all that kind of thing. And why would they? I mean, I wouldn't hire someone who spent, 12 weeks of their life completely making fun of my business and what I do publicly. So no, I knew when I did that was a bridge burned, and it was a bridge I was okay burning because a show like And Just Like That is so specific. It's run by Michael Patrick King, who, he's done other things like Two Broke Girls, but I'm not concerned that he'll be running something in the future that I'm going to want to be a part of, that he is going to, remember me and not hire me for. Now, let's say that's the case. Let's say in 10 years I need a job and he's running a show and my name comes across his desk and he somehow remembers that I did these recaps or even knows I exist. I guess I'm shit out of luck. Let's say he didn't remember, and I went in for a job interview. Again, this is a future show in 10 years that he might be running, which I don't think so. I think he'd be retired by then, but probably be water under the bridge at that point, depending on how much he holds a grudge. And I have a feeling he does hold grudges, but again, that would require him knowing I said any of this. But I'd probably be upfront and be like, oh, I used to totally, snarkily recap And Just Like That. But anyway, no. So I would not. And I knew when I began talking about this show that I was still working on a show for another year. And I knew at the time that I knew what my next job was already. And it's the show I'm writing on now from the same creators as The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is what I used to write on. So I kind of knew like my years out plan. And so there was no risk. But also it's just a very isolated show. He kind of uses the same writers that he's known forever. And then anyone new that he's going to hire would not be a cisgendered white woman who's older like myself. He already has those people. So I'm not even in the running for what he needs. So it was just a completely safe thing to do. As you probably notice, I don't recap other shows or make fun of anything else publicly not because I'm afraid or anything, but I don't have time. But also this was just so specific for me because I loved the original series, even though I didn't watch it when it was originally on. And I was just, from the first episode of In Just Like That, season 1, I was in shock at what happened. And it just very organically happened that I started talking about it on my social media. And then people really started responding to it. And so I kind of made it a regular thing and turned it into, okay, I'm adding this to my podcast episodes every week. So no, but he wouldn't offer it to me because, again, he already has his older white writers. So there's that. But a second and third, if there was, no, if I had a choice of like any jobs I could have and I was able to just say yes or no to writing jobs, I probably wouldn't want to work for him. It doesn't seem like it's easy to get through to him. I don't know. But on the other hand, like in general, let's just say that he was looking to hire new people, didn't care that I did the recaps or never knew, and I needed a job. Like, of course, because I mean, by working as a TV writer, I am in a union. Every job I have feeds into my pension and my health insurance. So I will take any writing job that I can. And if I'm ever presented with a choice between two shows at once, which I have been in the past, I will pick the one that means the most to me, is in the location I want to live in the most, whether that's New York or LA at the time, and usually which job has the opportunity for more growth, whether it's another season of said show that I know will probably happen, or, if two shows come to me and say, we want you to write for us, and one of the shows can only guarantee me 10 weeks of work and the other one can guarantee me 30 weeks of work. I don't care which one means more to me. I got to go with the one where I get more work. So, these questions are fun, but never really my answers can never really be grounded in too much reality. So like in the fantasy way, like would I enjoy working on that show? Absolutely not. Would I absolutely do it if I needed to and everything worked out? Of course, just like any other job, I guess you sometimes got to work on things that you don't love, but you take pride in your work. You try to make whatever you're working on the best that you can with the amount of control or influence that you have, whether it's a lot or a little, and, you make the best of it. But thankfully, I have not been put in that position where I have to go write for it. And just like that, after snarkily recapping it. Okay, if you want to hear the rest of this episode, head on to my Patreon, patreon.com/Jen Kirkman, or click the link in the show notes. You can get a 7-day free trial. And you can get the rest of this episode. So let's keep going.